alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never lack those.
Welcome to another episode of the No Brilliant Jerks podcast, a podcast that deconstructs consumer culture and media with no brilliant jerks allowed. Every Wednesday, you'll find us on all podcast streaming platforms, chatting about all things business and media with a dash of shit talk. Because who doesn't love that? I'm trying to change it up every week.
Yay.
You are joined by me, Liv, and I've got Kat and Nick again this week.
Hi, guys.
Yay. The girls are back.
Yeah, the girls.
Yeah, the girls.
Happy to be here.
Love it. Well, shall we get into our weekly dopes and nopes?
It is time for dopes and nopes.
Do you want to kick us off?
Oh, sure. All right. Well, I'm going to start with my nope. I am back on my bullshit talking about the US Supreme Court.
We
There
love
we
it when
go.
you're on your bullshit.
But it's only because there's been a further development since Roe versus Wade was overturned. I briefly mentioned this to you at the end of last week, but the Supreme Court has actually ruled on another case. This time it is basically what they've done is they have... Sorry, I'm just having a mental blank on how to describe this. They've ruled that the Environmental Protection Agency, which is the US government sort of environmental protection agency, they provide oversight to companies and businesses and the government on like how to do better for the environment. So the Supreme Court has ruled that they now have less power to regulate power plants and energy companies on how much carbon emission they, produce and emit into the atmosphere.
Money.
Well, yeah, I guess money partly. And remember, these are like extremely conservative Christians who don't believe in science, ergo don't believe in climate change. So for anyone who's still on the fence about whether or not this rogue Supreme Court affects them personally, just a friendly reminder that we do all breathe the same air.
Yeah,
So-
if there's no planet, there's nothing.
No us.
Yeah.
There's nothing. Gosh.
So, that's kind of a depresso way to...
Depresso espresso.
Depresso
we put it.
espresso
That's
way
what we
to-
say.
Yeah, so, the Supreme Court's a problem and, American authorities need to do something. Otherwise, I think we'll see the very slow demise of the United States of America. That's my hot take. Anyway, let's get on to something a little bit happier.
Yes.
Let's talk about my dope.
Segue.
Yo, can we just let's just have a...
Liv needs to sip some tea. Liv and I have the same dope today.
It's getting hot in here.
And of course, it is the one and only Robert Irwin on the cover of Stella magazine. And I just want to say that this young man, he is 18,
legal.
trapping the youth of tomorrow into... conservation through his smouldering gaze and his fun TikTok is genius.
Yeah.
And I feel weird because I obviously,
Find him attractive.
find him attractive, but I'm also like, remember him as a child growing up.
Yeah.
But I
Yeah.
love the Irwins.
Yeah.
And I always have. I'm a huge fan of the
could you
entire
not?
Irwin family. And I'm happy for them. I'm happy that he's like a young man that's, finding his way in the world. And both of those kids have turned out so good.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm happy
Good
for
eggs.
them.
Yeah, good eggs. But he's a dish.
He's a specimen.
Oh.
Who knew? All of that time wrestling crocodiles.
Yeah.
It's really
Paid off.
I know. Australia Zoo are going to sell so many more tickets now, and I'll be included.
first in line.
Yes. First in line for the croc show.
Oh, God.
The croc show.
Have a drink of water.
Guys.
Okay, well, yes, if you haven't seen it, it's Stella magazine. It only just came out in the last 24 hours.
Yeah, full photo shoot too. He's got the cover and then he's got a lovely, fashion shoot, I guess, in Stella magazine.
Yeah, with an interview.
Yeah, and as Kat said before, like he does look like one of the long lost Hemsworth brothers.
Yes, he does.
It's throwing Hemsworth vibes.
Yeah,
Fully.
I agree.
In a big way.
Very nice. All right, Kat, what's your...
Well, Look, mine's very light this week compared to last week when it was just one big nope.
Yes.
But all of the behind-the-scenes pics of the Barbie movie
So
are coming out.
Yes.
And I'm personally very excited.
Yeah.
And my daughter was also very excited.
Yeah.
But Margot Robbie as Barbie is literally like the role she was born to do.
Yeah.
She looks so good.
Yeah.
And Ryan Gosling's Ken.
Yeah. Perfect.
And they look amazing.
Now I have a question.
I don't think Ryan Gosling's hot, just FYI.
No, I'm not a
But,
I'm
you know,
not a fan.
I can respect that he's
can
got the abs.
appreciate
Yeah.
it.
He's got the abs to pull off Ken.
Yeah.
He's not really a Ken. Like, he doesn't,
No.
to me, he doesn't look like a Ken.
Yeah.
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 Robert Irwin.
New cast, reshoots.
But I do have a question. Do you think the Barbie movie is going to be like a kids movie, or is it going to be like
I
for
don't know.
adults?
I actually really don't know. I have no idea. I wouldn't even know what the plot would
No.
be, to be honest.
Because it's kind of giving like nostalgia. Like the outfits that I've seen, it's like our era of
Yes.
Barbie, like 90s, late 80s, early 90s
Yeah.
Barbie, you know? So
Yeah.
I feel like on that level, it's maybe for kids but with adult references.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. Yeah, you're right. Because all of the footage that's like been released so far, she's rollerblading
Yeah.
down, I'm guessing it's Venice Beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then there's some other ones where she's, looking in that sort of nostalgic,
Yeah.
that whole nostalgia
Very
vibe.
neon,
Very
like,
neon.
leotard and
Yeah,
little black
big
shorts.
hair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder, what it's going to be rated when it comes out.
Yeah, well, hopefully, G or PG.
Yeah.
Not like M.
Surely.
Yeah. Surely. All right.
So
and
that's my dope. And then I've got like another dope because this one feeds into my nope. So Hailey Bieber has released Rhode skincare. And it's sold out. First of all, my dope for that is that I think she has actually set the standard for the way that skincare companies should be transparent with their ingredients.
Yeah.
So on the website, every product that she's released, you can click on that product, see the ingredients, and you can actually hover over every ingredient in that product, and it will tell you what it is, where it's come from, what it does for your skin, so that you can really educate yourself.
I love that.
So
on that.
good.
Yeah.
And that should be the standard for
Oh,
skincare.
yeah, for sure.
For sure.
So props to her for that.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. But the nope side of it is that it's sold out, and I think, it's just a marketing ploy. There's not really anything negative to say about it, but I just want people to think when celebrities are releasing brands and then it sells out in 40 seconds or whatever it is, something crazy like that, just know they're not making 1 billion units. They're making a very small, it's a small amount so that
Yeah.
they can say they sold out because it sounds great as a marketing hook and it drives urgency for the next drop.
Yeah,
That's
definitely.
So my nope, it's not really a nope, but it's just more like beware, guys. Like,
Yeah.
don't be fooled.
Yeah.
Wisdom.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we've already done my dope.
We can
but
talk about it some more. I mean, I won't be mad.
No, my nope actually is Curious at Wimbledon at the moment. So he just played Tsitsipas and they had a hissy fit. Both of them did really. Like
They
they're
did.
both
Yeah.
they're both pretty bratty, but just petty behavior. And just like the interviews, he's just like, it's just the big chest kind of vibe that he has, and it's just not representing us very well. And like same old. Like
I know.
it's just his behavior.
He's very arrogant, isn't he?
Oh, so arrogant.
I actually watched the entire press conference post-match with Kyrgios.
Yeah.
And I actually laughed out loud
at some
a couple
of
of
the things he
times.
says. Yeah.
Because he's just – I actually think he says – like he's not fake in any sense of the word.
No, he's like, everyone loves me.
he's so arrogant.
He's like, I've got plenty of friends. Everyone loves me.
I
They don't
know.
like him.
I know. And you think, oh my God, but it's
Yeah.
like, I guess that's why these characters of tennis, like we won't probably get many of those, but when we do, it's just sort of embarrassing that he's from Australia.
Yeah.
What is it about tennis in particular, though? I feel like a lot of these personalities do, end
Yeah.
up in the sport of tennis.
Yeah, they do.
I know there's the egos
I guess,
in every sport.
Is it because it's like it's considered a rich man's sport maybe? And they're brought up around yes people. I don't know.
And it's not really a team sport, so
Yeah,
maybe
true.
that has something to do with it as well.
And if you're not doing that well, then you kind of need to make a name for yourself somehow so people know who you are and they watch you and brand sponsors and all that stuff. So it could be a bit of a PR ploy too. Like,
Do you think it helps his brand though?
I mean,
know.
he's partnered with like Nike and he's got heaps of
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know.
I don't know.
He's an interesting one.
Tsitsipas was literally like fueling his fire though, and he was just saying he's a bully, like he would have been a bully at school. Just all these like,
Yeah, there's no love
grow
lost.
up, like
Yeah.
take pride in your sport, take pride in representing your country as well.
Oh, yeah. You tell him, Liv.
It's very wise.
All right, well, that's a wrap on our weekly Dopes Notes. So shall we get into today's podcast topic?
Oh, we're so excited about today's.
It's really good. So basically we're going to talk about and discuss the question, the notion that can influencers ever achieve true celebrity status?
Oh, I love it.
Now, I actually don't know what your opinions are on this, but we're going to get into it. But firstly, like, let's kind of like touch on like the evolution of influencers in our industry. Like for me personally, I've almost somewhat grown up with them.
Yeah.
It's kind of been a normal for me. And moving into the industry and working, like having a career job, it's kind of like something that I've always wanted to do. But for you guys, I'm Gen Z.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
You're a Zoomer.
Zoomer, and you guys are millennials.
Yes.
So what were influencers like for you, and what's like your first memory of an influencer?
Oh, okay.
Well, it's a
Gee,
new term.
good question.
Yeah.
It's a new kind of word that didn't exist when we were growing up. Like influencers were just celebrities, like your traditional
like movie stars. Yeah.
pop stars.
Not even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like not even 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like when I think back, I'm 20. No, I'm not. I wish I was fucking 20.
In spirit.
I'm 36. And I think back to when I was 26, I was working at Dreamworld and influencers were not a thing.
No.
You know what? Social media was a grind back then. It was
Yeah.
hard to get the big bosses to believe that the way the world was going was social media. So
Yeah.
it wouldn't even be 10 years ago that influencers really did not exist. And now you look at it and it's just this juggernaut. And if you don't have it in your marketing mix, you're silly.
Silly Billy. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember. I don't really remember like the moment where it just sort of became the norm very quickly.
Very quickly.
Really did.
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of them rose to fame from YouTube. I feel like that was like the first place it all started. Like I remember watching
I actually
Zoe.
think it was Instagram before YouTube.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think even like that first generation of influencers probably had to endure a lot of ridicule because people still, you know, at that time, even those first generation of people who were getting paid and that was their full-time job were still getting comments like, you know, that's not real work. That's never going to pay the bills. Even though they were working, you know, they didn't really, that whole line of work was not given legitimacy for a really long time.
Yeah. Agreed.
Yeah.
In fact, I think now a lot of the older generations still have that opinion.
Yeah.
We know better.
Yeah.
We know that it takes a lot of work, believe it or not.
It does.
Like it really
Sure
does. Content creations, you know, it's no joke.
No.
It's very, very time consuming and you need to be super creative.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to be constantly changing and following trends, and also you've got to let people in.
Yeah.
Which I could never. You
Yeah.
know?
Transparent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. I just remember Shani Grimmond. I feel like she was one of the like the OGs for me
Yeah,
because I used to
sure.
watch her on YouTube, and then Chloe Zepp as well. Like these are all Gold Coast based as well, but like that's like what I would watch to start off with, and Michael Finch.
Can I ask you a question then, Liv? Considering they were around and setting, I guess, aspirational content for you as a teenager when you were
Yeah.
at school,
Yeah.
was that your do you think that is your generation's celebrity?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So that was my opinion on this
Right.
topic. I think influencers are the new celebrities because they're so much more attainable in terms of being able to work with them as a business. And they produce better content. Like I'm way more influenced by Shani Grimond and what she's wearing than J-Lo because I probably can't get what J-Lo has. So I don't even think of that. I know that Shani is almost like a simple girl like me. Yes, she has a lot of followers, but I see more things alike with her than J-Lo.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I'm definitely influenced a lot more by influencers, hence why they are my celebrities.
And would you say, like, when you're at school, is that what it was like? Schoolyard chatter and
Yeah, 100%.
you know, at
The
the canteen?
relationships. Yeah, the relationships of all the influencers. And we'd watch a lot of YouTube. That's where it started for me. And that's why I said, yeah, YouTube was the number one because we'd watch all like the videos and the prank calls.
Yeah, well, maybe you're right because I guess that's,
Yeah.
you know, for you and your generation, maybe it was YouTube.
Yeah.
And
well,
YouTube preceded Instagram, right? YouTube was around long before
Yeah,
Instagram.
yeah.
Yeah, and I feel like that's also where the money first came into influencers as well. That's where they could get money is through the ads that would come on during
Now,
the videos.
is YouTube the highest earning platform an influencer can create content on?
I think it's nearly.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like up there with TikTok now. Yeah.
And
definitely.
interestingly, I am pretty sure that the highest earners on YouTube are like family channels, which we'll get
Yes.
into.
I can I have
Yeah.
got some comments about that.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll talk about that.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, excellent. Well, before we have so much to talk about today, and
Yeah,
this
we
is a
do.
topic that we are all very passionate about because working in creative comms and PR and marketing, we often work with a lot of great influencers, to be honest. I've worked with some stonkers in my time.
Are you going to out them?
I might out them towards the end. I mean, I don't think people will be shocked with like who it is. I'll leave it to
probably
the end. I'll think about it between now and the end. But we work with a lot of really great ones and we know how hard they work as well. So shout out to all of the awesome influencers that we work with for our clients. But recently it became, I guess the inspiration for this episode today was Jennifer Aniston, who is, you know, she's an A-list celebrity. She's the true definition of a star. She's over 50 though. So
She's a boomer.
keep that in mind. She is a bit of a boomer, but she was interviewed for Variety. And she made a comment that influencers were diluting actors' careers, which it's a very polarizing comment because you either completely agree with her or you completely disagree with her. So this was the inspiration behind today's discussion. What do you guys think about that? Because obviously there have been some influencers that have carved out great careers and some of them have tried their hand at acting, most notably Addison Rae with He's All That, which was
a dumpster fire.
not a great film.
Yeah.
But I guess her comments, you know, are stemming from things like that. Do you guys agree with Jen?
Yeah.
Jen, like I know her, like my
Jen.
bestie.
Jen next door.
What do you think, Liv?
Yeah. I totally agree. Like, it's,
yeah.
Yeah. I just think, like, even going back to Vine, do you remember Vine?
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Vine was also up there with YouTube for me as well at school. So it would be like, it was like TikTok.
So Vine were the 15-second little
The
clips.
little
And you'd
videos.
flick through it like TikTok.
Sure,
And
yeah.
there were Vine influencers. Like Cameron Dallas is one of the most notable ones for me when I was growing up. And he then went on to like YouTube movies. He's now slightly irrelevant. So because he didn't follow onto like Instagram and TikTok in time. So he missed the bus.
Oh, I think, okay.
Yeah.
Some influencers that, you know, were once quite popular on Instagram, I think they've peaked. And if they haven't evolved and done
Exactly.
something.
Adapted to it.
Yep.
They're irrelevant.
They're
Another
irrelevant.
example is Shawn Mendes. So he started off on Vine.
No way. I did not know
he?
that.
Fun fact.
So
So
I
he
just thought
started
he
off
was a singer.
No, so he started off on
Look at you
Vine
with all the
years
info.
ago when I was at school, and I'd watch him. He was young, like I think he was maybe like 15, 16, just playing, singing videos. And then he got picked up, I believe, by Scooter Braun.
Like Justin Bieber.
Exactly right. But But Scooter back then created a group of other Vine stars, and they had a traveling tour where people could buy tickets and meet the Vine stars. Sean would play his guitar and sing. Other boys would like muck around, and they'd do a whole meet and greet. And it was also with the Dolan twins.
Wow.
Okay, so this is way back.
Social media now? Yeah. Okay.
So, but I was obsessed with them. But that's how that all started. And obviously Sean is a celebrity today.
Right. So
a traditional.
I guess that's why you do believe that they are diluting.
100%. Yeah.
Okay.
And so he went on to have a huge career, and he's killing it.
What about you, Nick?
I'm actually on the fence about this, and I should preface this by saying I don't know as much about influencers as you guys, and it's certainly not like as much of an area of interest for me either. But I feel like for as long as there have been like personalities, they've been inserted into films regardless of having talent or not. See Paris Hilton. Even someone like, this is maybe a bad example, but like Mandy Moore was not an actor back from our era. Same with Britney Spears. Not actors, but ended up making movies. Were they good? You mean
Crossroads should have had an Oscar.
I don't know what we're talking about. Crossroads.
Britney's movie.
She was in a movie?
Yeah. Crossroads. Liv, I feel like you're going to love it, just saying.
You would live for it. Yeah. So I feel like as long as there's name recognition, studios are going to pick famous people to be in movies regardless of their talent or not. Yeah. I'm sure Jennifer Aniston's worked with people who have no talent but a big name, and, as a result have got top billing in a movie. So
can we say The Rock Johnson? He started off as a WWE wrestler.
How dare you? He's extremely talented, and I will not hear otherwise.
Controversial.
He's funny.
He plays the same character in every movie.
That could be true, but he plays
I do agree with that. It is the same character, just skinned differently.
Yeah, but WWE wrestlers were almost like an influencer. That used to be huge.
Yeah. Still are, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, and it's the same type of thing. Someone with no talent but a recognisable name.
You said it.
Who, no acting, little to no acting talent. Yeah. Who's got a big name and ends up in the movies. So, I mean, Jennifer Aniston honing in on influencers specifically for doing this, I just think is like, kind of, avoiding the fact that this has always been the reality.
Yeah, I agree. So I guess I think that they're diluting their careers as well, specifically talking about those that have made careers out of the social media platforms, so not so much like the WWE wrestlers or the Paris Hiltons of the world. I sort of mean like the grassroots, someone hit the big time on TikTok because they're a great makeup artist or whatever it is. So I think those ones are. I also think that she's got a great point when it comes to diluting the careers. We only need to look at the Met Gala and how many TikTok stars are now walking what is traditionally supposed to be the creme de la creme of celebrity. So I put on like my PR hat and I think, well, the Met Gala, it's smelling stale. It's smelling old. It doesn't have the pizzazz and the shine that it once did. So they have to try and attract younger audience and try to get it back to where it was. And with that, they've got the TikTok stars. So I can understand it from a strategy, like a strategic perspective. But then also it is alienating the old school fans because they're expecting true A-lists like J-Lo and Gaga, and there were so many people missing from this year's Met Gala. So it's, watch this space for 2023's Met Gala to see what will happen. But, I guess they are somewhat diluting. There is a cringe interview, guys, and I mean cringe, of Addison Rae being interviewed by Vogue magazine on the red carpet. I don't think it was the Met, but I could be wrong. It was either the Met or it's the Oscars. Like it's something, it's a massive event. Yeah. And it is the most cringeworthy thing I've ever seen. We will put a link in show notes.
Okay.
And
I have to see this.
Oh my God, it's cringe.
As in she just has no chat?
No chat. And the interviewers they've got nothing to say to her either. They're like, well, first time at the Oscars? She's like, yeah. And they're like, Okay.
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about?
She does that. She's not a very good speaker.
Really bad chat.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's that. So, a good segue is into the next point that we're going to discuss now, which is that influencers, a lot of them have managed to go on and carve out really great careers. The makeup industry in particular is just huge. The James Charleses of the world, the Jeffree Stars of the world.
Yep.
My personal favourite, Michaela.
Yep.
I don't want to butcher her last name, but Nigarera, I think it is.
Incredible.
Incredible.
And she's getting so many like brand deals and brand collaborations now just because she has such a good platform. Have you seen her on TikTok?
No, never.
You would love it. Yeah.
She's got a real Boston accent.
Yeah,
Love that.
Yeah. No,
I don't know if that was a Boston accent.
No, she's awesome and she's such a good role model as well.
She's sensational.
Yeah.
And it's, I guess it's those, it's people like Michaela that I think deserve the success that they're getting and in return the money that they're getting.
Well, for example, she was with Selena Gomez the other day.
She was.
She was like interviewing and hanging out with Selena Gomez. So if that is anything to add to this like celebrity status, it wasn't like she was invited to the event. They were actually like she was invited as like a guest to like interview with Selena.
Yeah. And, this is just we're only scratching the surface when it comes to the makeup industry because it is one of the biggest I guess sections of society that has done and will continue to do particularly well on social media platforms. But the pop culture commentators that are now sitting down with one-on-one interviews with Kim Kardashian and Khloe Kardashian, they're almost taking over traditional media outlets, which I love because these people more often than not, they're really into it and they're passionate and they care a lot about these celebrities. So it's a great chat. The Amanda Hirsch from Not Skinny But Not Fat. There's a ton. Even down to like the podcasters that are now doing really well. Call Her Daddy. Like they are becoming and really carving out, such a good space.
Yeah.
And they're not even trained professionals, but they're really good.
But because they're into it, they're better than some of the trained professionals because trained professionals can talk, but they can't always ask the questions that the fans really want to get to the bottom of.
Yeah.
I remember years ago I used to watch this like YouTube channel that was about like for movie buffs basically. I don't think it exists anymore, but they sat down with the cast of I can't remember the movie, but it was like Christopher Walken and these huge actors and asked them to read lines from Here Comes Honey Boo Boo. And it was like the funniest. Yeah, it was so good.
Love that.
Yeah. So that kind of like niche, stuff that a normal journalist would never do.
Yeah.
Really gets people going, gets excited.
Like these Vogue interviews, like the ones that they walk through the house and do like the 70 questions or whatever.
Yeah,
they're
love
really
that.
good. Yeah. Now I have a question for you both. Today, do we determine the success or the celebrity status of someone based on their following or their talent?
I think it would have to be, for me personally, a combination of both.
Yeah.
I respect that some people have a ton of followers, and this is no shade to anyone, but sometimes you've got like guys and girls that just look good, that post nonstop, near naked photos of themselves, and that's the reason why they've got millions and millions of followers. Whereas then, I can understand that that's a level of success, and if that's how you measure success, then you're doing well. But if you aren't leveraging that and you're trying to turn it into something that's got a lifetime in it, then why are you doing it? So, I think a lot of them have missed the boat, and that's sort of what I was alluding to before about some of them have peaked. And if they haven't been savvy enough with finding something that could be turned into a legitimate business, then, good luck, because if you aren't evolving or if you're not giving value to your audience, they will soon switch off. And that's where the talent side comes into it.
Yeah. And I think the Paul brothers, they have done so incredibly well in terms of following the trends. They were once cancelled so badly.
Yes.
Do you remember the YouTube video?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And I watched that at school. So I
Right.
went.
What was the YouTube video?
It was
was
in,
this the
it was in
Japanese?
20
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So for anyone that's not familiar with it, it was only in 2019, I think.
Oh no,
Maybe?
no,
Was
I
it
was
before?
definitely at school.
Yeah,
was
so it
before
must have
then.
been way.
So before 2017.
you know
or
what? The last
beforehand.
2 years, time's a vortex.
It's all
I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was he went to Japan, and there's a forest in Japan which is called the suicide forest,
Yeah.
where a lot of people unfortunately and tragically go to end their life. And was it Logan that went there?
I think so. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Logan went there, and he created a video standing in front of
Yeah.
and trigger warning here, standing in front of a man who had hung himself.
Yeah.
From a tree.
But no censors. I watched it when it first came out before he like re-uploaded it with censors over the top. And being like a 16, 17-year-old watching these YouTubers that you look up to on platforms is like it was shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking.
Did you have an immediate negative response, or were you enough of a fan that it took you a while to be like, that's wrong?
That's a good question. I think in the moment it was definitely like that's wrong, but because of the how horrific the video was, it just couldn't help rise to like the most trending video. Everyone was watching it, and it was definitely wrong. But I think when these people have such a large following and a large influence, you're like, oh, like they know what they're doing, and at that
You'd
age
hope
as well,
so.
I would have been like, oh, well. I guess not that what he did was right, but I don't really reflect on whether it was right or wrong.
Sure.
that's just what he did.
Yeah.
Which is really bad.
Yeah,
And there's,
really bad.
you know, a sense of credibility when you've got millions of views and you're famous and you're, you know, on this platform as a massive star that of course you're going to, as a young fan, be like, oh, well, I guess this is fine.
Yeah. So he got completely cancelled. Completely cancelled. I think he's banned from Japan.
Oh, would not surprise me.
So he got completely cancelled to the point where, like, I think he took a break. I think there was an apology video, but everyone was just watching.
Yeah.
Like, and it was huge though. But to have such a such bad press and to come out to where he is now, like, you would hardly even remember that he did that years ago.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it was at a time when, luckily, I don't even think cancel culture was a huge thing.
No, it was not.
Whereas if he did that today,
Oh my God.
I don't think you do come back from that.
No, definitely not.
So he was, you know, quotations lucky in that regard.
Yeah.
That it wasn't, you know, the heat from the cancel culture.
And then he
isn't as
went
big.
on to have like PR stunts. I call them PR stunts because you look back now and you're like, oh, really? That's pretty pathetic. Where he'd make rap songs dissing his brother and they'd both diss each other on YouTube. And then it was this huge thing and like everyone was like, oh, rival, like they hate each other. And then influencers would start living in all these like houses together and start making content. I'm pretty sure they still do that today.
So intrigued by content houses.
Hype House
I cannot
on Netflix, is it?
Yes.
Hype House?
Yeah. And Noah
I always look at Connor. I'm like, have I got that right?
Yeah. But it's just crazy. And then he started a fight with KSI, which was another big YouTuber. It was him, right? Logan? Yeah. And then that blew up. And now they're huge.
They are. They're bona fide media personalities, but they, you know, on the plus side for them, for all of their discretions as well, they've been very smart in how to evolve and stay on top of what it is they're doing. And now that they're a little bit older and more mature, they're reflecting on a lot of the mistakes that they made publicly to get to the point to where they are today. And then they're sitting down during their podcasts and talking about it and having really great people on and getting them to talk about similar things. So, you know, I think the way that they've continued to push forward and really like prove that they're here to stay is really interesting to watch.
Yeah.
They correct me if I'm wrong. Did they get famous for collecting Pokemon cards?
At one stage, yeah. Yeah, well, they do. Yeah.
Yeah.
Today, he has like,
I mean, it's wild.
He has like millions.
Dream big, kids. You can do
$1
anything.
Pokemon card, like that he wears, like, and it's all bedazzled. Like, I only saw it recently.
Yeah. It's wild.
It's wild. But he would have more followers than a celebrity.
Than an A-list celebrity.
Yeah. And so would Charli D'Amelio. Now, she
sure.
has just been overtaken by another TikTok star. She was the most followed TikTok Kerr.
And what is she famous for? What does she do on there? Please don't say those dancing things. Oh, no.
She is famous for dancing.
Okay, so is this a generational thing? Because I get embarrassed by that.
Yeah.
Do you live, or is that what you...
Look, when TikTok first started, that's what it was for. And it was in the peak of COVID when no one had anything else to do. Yes, literally. And
go onto our YouTube channel to see those super hot moves from Cat and Ty.
She is a dancer. Look, she has 143.2 million followers on TikTok.
Whoa.
And over 11 billion likes.
Whoa.
Like,
For dancing.
And
Well, as a former professional
just
dancer,
kidding.
I do need to say, is it dancing?
well, she
Is
is
it? That's what I'd like to know.
she is a ex-professional dancer, and I think she's
Is she?
trying to
I've
weave her
seen her
way back
dance.
in there. But she's got all these collaborations. I think she's got her own skincare or makeup line, and now she has her own perfume. And
All right.
and-
So pulling it back.
Yeah.
Pulling it back. What can she then do? What is she doing to make herself a bona fide celebrity?
Well, they had a reality show,
yes,
which
on Disney
actually
Plus.
I watched a little bit of it and it made me really sad.
really sad.
Because it was all about her
Sister?
mental health, like basically deteriorating
Yeah.
under the pressure of being a star, getting hate. And like, obviously before I was just like, oh, well, she's not a real dancer, which is an awful thing to say because, you know, she was just a kid putting up videos online doing what everybody else was doing. But for whatever reason, she took off, you know. And also it was like, I felt really uncomfortable watching it because it was just like all these managers and all these like adults around her being like, all right, this is what your schedule looks like for the next 12 months.
Yeah, and you
no,
can
you
just-
no, sorry.
No, I interrupted you. Keep going.
No, you don't have time for a holiday. You know, she wanted to get back to like doing going to like dance competitions like a regular teenager, but then she was getting so much hate that like she didn't end up wanting to do that.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sad.
It was really tragic. And it was just like all these adults planning, being like, okay, how can we capitalize on your fame right now? Like basically just what you said. How can we make
Great.
you into...
I sound like an asshole.
No, but like that is the way that you think as a PR. You're like, well, how can we, you know, capitalize on this and, you know, shoot you into mainstream stardom? But this is a 16-year-old kid, you know?
Is she only 16?
I don't know how old she is now, but she started when she was very young.
Oh, my God. That's
Very
a lot of
young.
pressure for a very young, vulnerable girl.
Very young. And you can just see it written all over her, the stress and the anxiety. She's like chewing her nails. And
Oh, my
she's
God.
just like,
It's just not worth it.
She's 18 years old.
Oh, right.
So
She's
she's
very
just
young.
an adult now. And, you know, the parents are like everybody around her is salaried, you know?
Yeah.
So her entire career and her relevance is, you know, based upon like everyone else's livelihoods are, you know, based around her ability to stay relevant at
a lot of
18.
pressure for a young girl to carry that weight on her shoulders. A lot of it's, you know, reminiscent of child stars, really, isn't it? So, you know, there's so much crossover between traditional celebrity and new age celebrity being influencers.
Yeah,
so much crossover.
Except that, you know, there's no child labour laws
No.
in the realms of social media like there are in traditional film and TV.
Yeah.
it's just crazy. Charlie started her first TikTok video March 30th, 2019. And the video was her lip syncing along with a friend.
Wow.
And she was 15.
Wow.
So young.
So let's get into one of our favourite industries that we always we air some very uncensored opinions in the office about this. But the mummy influencers. Have a breath, guys, because we're going in.
I have some
We've got some
words.
thoughts,
Look,
concerns, queries.
I do want to start off by saying I almost think mummy influencers have the most amount of influence in their target market.
Being a mum,
Yeah.
I can completely
Yeah.
say yes to that.
So hats off to them.
But let me tell you when it was most influential. Because there was an expiry date for me where I started to be like, nah,
Not listening
I'm
to you
parenting
anymore.
the way I want to parent, not
Yeah.
because of this person. It was beneficial and helpful when Poppy was a newborn
Yep.
to go and follow certain mummy influencers when my daughter was, 0 to say 6 months old. And that was great. It was actually valuable to be able to go and, listen to some mummy influencers about, the bottles that they found that their baby would be less colicky on, the best sort of sleep sacks for the baby to get more sleep, really helpful tips that if you didn't have a mummy group or a friend group, you could look to some of these women, and it really was beneficial for that. And I still think it is to this day really beneficial for some women to, I'm thankful for those creators.
Yeah.
But what you're describing doesn't involve children.
It does not involve children.
Doesn't involve children working.
Exactly. It does not involve the kids. It was a mum's opinion, a mum's tried and tested, reviews for certain things. And I'm not necessarily talking, guys, about this is the best pram for running or, this is the best baby seat. I'm talking about, what it's like to be really sleep deprived, what you can do to try and, get your child to sleep longer, those that maybe had controlled crying or, I'm talking about real parenting moments where you feel very isolated and very alone.
Yeah.
I'm definitely not talking about, kids and what they're wearing or anything like that.
And was the content that influenced you the most, was it paid or organic? Do
you know what? I could not tell you because I was so sleep deprived when I was really in that zone. I imagine
vulnerable.
Yeah, you are. I imagine it was a cross section of both. Yeah. And that's all right, you know.
And I think we talk about the social media echo chamber and the algorithm, serving you certain videos being a bad thing. But I actually think with that type of stuff, parenting tips, it's probably actually really good because it validates your choices.
Yeah.
I agree.
I feel like any choice that you're making when you're a mum, if you're trying to do your best, is the right choice.
Absolutely.
I agree to a certain extent where you still need to keep in mind that you're not them. You have different circumstances, different expectations. Your whole situation's different.
Different support systems.
Exactly.
Different everything.
Different income, whatever it is, you just need to obviously keep that perspective. But it's kind of like influencers doing what I eat in a day. And it's that is so unhealthy. Oh, don't even get me started on that. But so unhealthy because everyone is so different. Everyone has different health, BMIs, whatever calories whatever it is. And for someone to go on and say, this is what I eat in a day to influence other people to eat like them with a certain amount of calories is so wrong. But anyways, back to the mummy influencers. It's incredibly interesting. And I think recently a good example of a very influential mummy influencer is Tammy Hembrow. So she just had her third child with Matt Poole. And she was very open about her whole birthing experience. And in my opinion, her YouTube video that she posted, which was very, how would you call it? Raw?
Raw.
It was very confronting. And I think Nick shares this opinion with me where it was a bit, it made us uncomfortable because it's that's a private moment. But I mean, you do you, boo. But how did you feel as a mum watching that?
I got emotional watching it, which is a really weird thing for me to do because I'm notoriously not a crier.
She teared up.
I've got a cold heart that sometimes gets warm. But I watched it and I was it just took me back because my experience was so similar to Tammy's in every, even down to her having to stop, halfway walking into the hospital because her labor contractions were so intense she couldn't walk. I was God, that happened to me. And I feel like I sounded like her as well. And it actually made me emotional watching it.
So you appreciated it.
Yeah, but it was a hard watch for me as well because there's such, raw moments and everyone has such a different labor experience. I mean, to document it, I feel like it will be very special for that family moving forward, as a family to have that. But I guess there's now about 20 million people that also have access to it, right?
758,000 people.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
Well, that's who's watched it. And it's been up for 5 days.
Yeah.
That's a lot. She has over 15 million followers on Instagram as well. And it's interesting to see that she's just now starting to promote certain paid like kids products, like breast pumps and stuff. Like she's doing a lot of collaborations with that at the moment.
So Nick raised a good point off air about this, and it was the point of consent.
Yeah, so I want to talk about that. I have a lot of thoughts, but I do want to first of all say that I am a childless person. So I am also aware, like, I don't like to judge. Well, I'm about to fucking go forth and judge people.
Forth and judge.
But I'm just aware that, like, the judgment that comes from a childless person towards a parent is, you know, it's an energy, right?
It is an energy.
And it's not necessarily a positive energy. So I mean, I might have a complete paradigm shift when I'm a parent. But my concern is that when you do a birthing video and you are literally filming your child for content from the moment they emerge from inside you, they can't consent to that. They can't consent to, you know, their body and, you know, their life being filmed and broadcast to
758,000.
She has
1.3
1.3 million subscribers on YouTube.
Like, how do you then renege consent, you know, when you're 12 or 13 for your entire life being used for content? And
It is
you know,
a very good point.
the implications that might have on your social life, on your safety, because if you're a little girl who's being broadcast on YouTube, you've got to believe that a percentage of the people watching you are not watching that for, you know, pure parenting reasons. They're watching it for something a lot more insidious. I just don't know how you, as a parent, like, how you reconcile that. Like, I understand that you're making money that you use to provide for your child.
Income, yep.
You can give them a world-class education. You can give them amazing trips overseas. You can give them any toys and clothes and books that they want and need. And I respect that wanting to provide for your child is, you know, something that every parent wants, and it's a wonderful thing. But like I said before, in Hollywood, there are laws that say that a child can only work 8 hours a day, that a portion of the finances that they make have to be put aside for them so that their parents can't take that money and leave them penniless when they turn 18. There are no laws protecting children who are working all day, every day in the home because the work that they're doing is just their lives being filmed. I mean, you can't separate that. And that's what gives me pause and makes me feel concerned. Not to mention, like I said before, that there are bad actors on social media. Like, if you look at, you know, a little child's, like a little girl's, 12-year-old girl's Instagram, it's not just other little 12-year-old girls looking at that Instagram. It's grown men.
Yeah.
And you have to wonder why. And I think we all know why. So how, as a parent, do you
how do you
just turn a blind eye to
yeah,
that?
how do you come to terms with that?
Yeah.
And I think it is sadly a case of ignorance is bliss, and it's not happening to me, and it's not happening to my kids or my family. But unfortunately, you know, statistics show that it is, and it's a prime hunting ground, and which has been proven time and time again. It's scary, and it's concerning to me. And, you know, I find it really sad because I know that a lot of mums, you know, their hearts are in the right place and they want to protect their kids.
That's it.
And they just probably don't know the extent of how dark it is out there
Yeah.
on the internet.
Yeah.
And I guess, as babies, it's a little different, say, to those that are broadcasting their kids that are, say, 4, 5, 6 years old and then into primary school age, because then the kids, you know, they do know what's going on. They've got a phone in their face all the time. And, you know, time will tell on the generation that's been raised with a phone in their face.
Or there's going to be some good exposés from the children of these mummy influencers when they turn 18.
Yeah.
Oh, it's going to be spicy.
And we're certainly not painting everyone with the same brush here. There are some fantastic mummy influencers out there, and huge respect to those that take precautions with their kids. A lot of them blank out their faces these days. A lot of them change their kids' names or have pseudonyms for their names.
Or don't make them a profile.
Or Lauren Dubois is one who she's never revealed her children's names. She never shows their faces, I believe. You know, and I think that I really respect that.
Yeah, same.
You know, but yet she's still carving out a space online in that industry or in that, you know, realm of parenting and mummying. But then there are those that I get really worried about. It's like you've raised your kids in front of the camera until they're 6 years old, say, and then all of a sudden you realize, okay, you know, my child's going to school. I don't want people to know where my child goes. But because you've given so much of your life being authentic for so long, then you've got this fan base that are like, well, you've shared all of this up until now, and now you're hiding everything. And then they cop heat from that. And it's this real, like, it's a storm that brews, and it's a tough one to navigate. I don't envy any mummy blogger. I really don't.
It's almost
I think it's really hard.
It's almost like a childhood star, child star. Child star. I was going to say child Hollywood star that grew up with Disney.
Yeah.
Except with fewer protections in place. And that's saying something because we all know that they can get around a lot of stuff in Hollywood. But I mean, this is the Wild West we're talking about.
I mean, let's relate it back to what we do for a living, right? So some of our clients will, you know, they'll have objectives and strategies that they, you know, want to meet, and they'll say to us, we need, you know, families are our key market. We need a bunch of mummy bloggers, mummy influencers. That's what we need because we know that they're talking to our target audience, and that's fine. But I guess like influencers should know that you guys are being treated as a marketing tool. It is. That's what it is. And that's that whole industry. You are a cog in a much larger marketing wheel.
Yeah.
And I think for me, it's if you can take your child out of that mix and still make great content and still have great engagement, which a lot of, you know, the mummy influencers that we work with do, then that's, you know, not an issue. It's just those influencers that their sole income is based around using their children for content.
Like I have an example, like the LeBrant family over in America, like Everly is one of their eldest daughters. I think she might be like 6 or 7. She has 5 million followers on Instagram.
Yeah,
she's a dancer, but she does her own collaborations. Her mum manages her Instagram, but they're all over YouTube as well. But it's just like she's so young, and they've just had another baby as well. I think they have 4 kids now. And as soon as it popped out, this is the birthing at the hospital. The baby is tagged and it has 1.5 million followers.
Wow.
So fresh new baby has an Instagram account with 1.5 million followers.
Oh,
Cannot consent.
Doesn't sit right with me.
Look, we could talk about this all day, honestly, but I think we should probably, wrap it up. I mean, we could do a part 2, but honestly, it's a big topic.
It is a big topic.
All
so
right.
In saying that then, our final question, can influencers ever achieve true A-list notoriety? Is that a yeah, maybe? Or is that a yeah?
It's a yeah.
Maybe in like another, you know, generation or so. You know, I feel like it's going that way. I mean, if you ask kids what they want to be now, they're not saying they want to be a pop star or an actor. They're saying they want to be a YouTuber, right?
An influencer.
So, yeah, maybe, you know, in maybe the next generation that grows up who has grown up really only with this style of media and entertainment.
Yeah.
Then maybe then.
Yeah, definitely. I think I'm like half. I'm more towards saying yes, only because like you said before, Met Gala is A-list celebrities, guest list, and what percentage of influencers were on that? Emma Chamberlain was literally running the Vogue interviews.
Oh, I love her.
Exactly.
It's so funny to
She's
me.
so good.
It's so funny to me the 180 that Vogue has done, because remember a time when Anna Wintour would not even entertain the idea of the Kardashians.
Yeah.
And now it's basically like an event specifically all about.
She needs them. She needs these influencers to stay relevant.
Kudos to her, though, for being able to have that mindset shift, because someone her age with her experience, it would be very hard, and it would have been a very bitter pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I just have to do this. I've got to put the Kardashians on the cover of Vogue. I've got to invite these TikTok stars.
Yeah.
But she's the definition of someone that's evolved well in traditional media and has been able to keep Vogue very relevant because of that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Definitely.
so true. Anna Wintour, FYI, is the editor-in-chief at Vogue.
Yeah.
And a bad
Has had the
bitch.
same hairstyle for 100 years.
Yeah,
Love her.
We love her too. Honestly, I'm here for anyone going to the Met Gala that wears a good outfit. Just people wear good outfits to the Met Gala.
Stick to the theme.
Yes, stick to the damn theme.
Oh, all right. Well, shall we get into our required readings for this week?
Oh, yes, let's.
Yes. Required reading. Okay, Kat, what's yours?
Oh, I was going to say, you guys go first.
Okay, do you want Nick to go?
Yeah, Nick.
Okay, Nick.
Okay, so mine's a fun one today. My all-time favorite podcast is called The Last Podcast on the Left. It's hosted by three, I guess, comedians is the easiest way of saying it, and they do like a deep dive every week into a true crime story, a paranormal story, or like a UFO story. It's like
I love that.
really
I really need to listen to
interesting-
this.
Yeah, and they just did, I just finished up listening to one of their recent series, because sometimes it's more than one episode about one topic, about Blackbeard, the pirate.
Oh, I love that.
And it's timely because
Blackbeard.
Taika Waititi, we'll talk about it.
Okay.
Taika Waititi's TV show Our Flag Means Death is really trending at the moment. It's also about Blackbeard, the pirate. And so it's just like it's an interesting historical deep dive into a topic that I didn't realize I cared about. And it's just fun and funny. And I learned a lot more about piracy than I ever thought I would need to know.
Oh, that's
So
good.
would recommend.
Knowledge is power.
Yeah, exactly.
I need to ask who Blackbeard is, but anyway, moving on.
Talk about it.
Okay, Kat, what's yours?
Oh, look, guys, I had a bit of a rough week last week, and I'm going to be honest, I didn't do any reading of any kind.
That's
truly.
okay.
The only thing I read were my emails, and I can guarantee you none of that is required reading for anyone. So I'm going to delightfully pass the talking stick back to you, Liv.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, as we all know, it's tax time, baby.
Yeah, it
so
is.
I do have a recommendation for Gen Zers like me. I mean, millennials could like it as well.
I like She's on the Money as well.
You do?
Yeah, I do
yes.
too. Yeah,
so
she's great.
required reading, or you can listen as well, is, She's on the Money. So I've got the book and the podcast as well is just awesome. So I think, Spotify and Apple. But they do like plenty of episodes, and they just like really break down, like especially for end of financial year, tax time, what you can claim, what you can't, how to do it, and just like their recommendations and advice for it, whether you're doing it yourself or whether you go and see someone for it.
Love that. Financial literacy,
Yeah.
very important.
Well, it just makes it really digestible and entertaining, because otherwise I find it so boring and I have no idea what I'm doing and I get really overwhelmed. But when you can listen to girls just like chatting about money, it's kind of sexy and it's like fun. Like it's not a stressful thing like tax time or saving. And she gives heaps of advice on like house mortgages, savings, investment, like so many different topics. And you also hear a lot of money stories from other people about how much savings they have or the position that they're in, or like stuff that they've been through. And it's really interesting to just kind of hear other people, because I think you get so like tunnel vision of I need to save this amount or whatever your goals are, that you're really hard on yourself. I don't know. I am.
There's another great book actually in that space, which I believe probably came like just before She's on the Money, before she became, the brand that she is today.
Yeah.
But there's another Australian financial planner. Her name is Canna Campbell.
Okay.
And she wrote a book called The $1,000 Project.
Oh, cool.
And it was the first finance book aside from The Barefoot Investor.
Yeah,
that
the old classic.
The old classic that I read that I really got a lot out
Yeah.
of. And it was all actually about savings.
Oh, nice.
Most of it was about savings, and then it did go into shares and the importance of
Mm. Yeah, all that
diversifying your
stuff.
investment portfolio and
Yeah.
things like that. But
Yeah.
I guess one tip that I could share on here that she shares in her book, she saved $32,000 in 12 months by using this unique strategy called bundling. So it wasn't from her income. It was $32,000 that she saved that wasn't from her wage. So what she did...
Did she round up? No.
No. So the whole premise of saving, you save in $1,000 bundles, but you do this by doing other things other than your work. So selling things around the house that you no longer need, whether it be clothes or furniture items or whatever. Maybe you're going over to your family, to your grandparents, and you're mowing their lawn and they give you $50. So anytime you get money like that, she was putting it away into
Directly into savings.
Wow.
And her whole premise is, and then when you get the $1,000, that's when you deposit it into your bank.
12 months though. She got 32.
32. So it's amazing what you can do with your creativity.
Jeez,
So
hustler.
with her wage, she then was like, oh, well, I've got all of this knowledge. Like, she was a financial planner, and then she was able to put it into action, and she's shown people, if you want something bad enough, you can achieve it.
Yeah.
And it's a really great read. I highly
Wow.
recommend it.
Okay.
The
Well, yeah.
$1,000 project.
There's your
There you
required
go. There's my
reading.
required reading.
Yeah. I love
Amazing.
that.
Well, that was great.
Yeah. Sugar Mama TV is who she is on YouTube.
Sugar
Oh.
Mama.
Sugar Mama TV. Yeah.
Not
Love
sure
that.
about the name.
Canna,
Okay,
give us
cool.
a call. We'll rebrand you.
Yeah. How good. All right. Well, also, I think next week's our last episode for the season.
We are. We're up to the last episode. And
so
we
yeah.
are taking a small break
Hiatus.
after next week's episode.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We'll see you all then.
we will.
Bye.
Bye.
You feel alive, let's hit the dance floor. Don't work too hard, might break a backbone. Return of the Mac, the king is back though. Corvette and cash, I never like those.
Thanks for listening, guys. If you love this episode, please give us a 5-star rating and make sure you follow us on socials to stay up to date with all the weird and wacky things we get up to. You can find us on Instagram at No Brilliant Jerks Podcast or Sunnydale Studios, or you can even find us on our agency Insta at KKO Agency. And if you'd like to put a face to a name, you can watch all of our podcast recordings on our YouTube at Sunnydale Studios. Now, we'll pop up all our social handles and links discussed in today's episodes in our show notes below. Feel free to also email us with your own dopes and nopes and we'll share them on the podcast. Anyways, guys, thanks for listening. We shall be in your ear holes again next Wednesday.
Okay, bye.
This podcast is produced by Sunnydale Studios.